that woman. He got nothing back from there. What was it that made him see through that gruff exterior to see that heart beneath there and then to win that heart? It wasn't fancy words. Wasn't a lot of moonlight and roses going on there. Right? Not a lot of romance and the things that we think about, that we think we need to have. What there was service. And simply when she had a need, his response was, as you wish. And she heard it right. In his service, she heard, I love you. And she grew to love him as a result of that. That's pretty neat. Remember the musical Camelot? Anybody remember that? Remember King Arthur talking about how in the world do you handle a woman? Remember what Merlin told him? Anybody remember that? To love her. Simply love her. Merely love her. Love her. Love her. He came up with all of these ideas. Do I flatter her? Do I beg her? Do I shower her with things? No. Show her that you love her was the response. What you do speaks so loud that we can't hear what you're saying. That is an act of love. Now, the first act of love we talked about last week. That's the gift of your presence. Now, that's being present in love. Some people are present and they're not very loving. And actually, the most loving thing some of those people could do would be, please get out of my presence. Right? Because if somebody is in my face and they're scowling, yeah, you can't even scowl when you try. and you know, or they're dissing you or something like that. It makes it really hard, right? But when someone's present, they're going, yeah. When someone's looking at you like Wesley was looking at Buttercup. When someone's saying, I'm really glad you're here. When you come in and they light up, then you're excited. You ever call somebody on the phone and they say, hi? They're excited that you called. They don't have to say anything else. It just made your day, right? Being present in love. That's why we become members of a church. Because we're saying two things when we become a member of a church. We're saying, I am believing along with you. You can count on me. Now, we can worship together if we're not members of a church. That's great. That's great. But when you become a member, you're saying, not only are we going to just sit here and hang, but you can count on me. And honey, I need to count on you. That is the first act of love, that presence thing. And then that's the counting on you part. That's the service thing. That's the second act of love. That's when you're staying up all night with a sick kid. When you're holding that child's head as they're sick. When you're cleaning up afterwards and you don't even mind because you love them. And you would do it again and again. It's driving to the hospital in the middle of the night because somebody is needing to get there. It's staying with them for months on end, not knowing whether it's going to get any better, not knowing what you're going to do without them. That's love. That is an act of service. That's being there. It's teaching Sunday school when you'd really rather stay in bed. It's an only day to sleep. Or you'd rather be in your own class, and that's great to be in your own class. But wouldn't it be nice to rotate a little? Give your teacher of your class a little bit of a break so that they're not in there for 87 years without a break. That's love. That is an act of service. It's visiting the folks that are in prison, folks that are not sure whether anyone accepts them. It is coming out of your comfort zones. It's taking that big step to do something that's really hard, like saying, this is why I believe. This is why I have faith in God. Or even harder than that. You ready? Here's the hard one. Would you like to come to church with me? Inviting somebody. A lot of times when I go out to lunch with someone, 100% of the time, I go out to lunch, and unless somebody has said it first, I say, okay, let's give God thanks for this. And so I don't care where we are, because, I thank God everywhere because it's all from God. And my family is very comfortable with that. Most of my friends are pretty comfortable with it. Every now and then you get someone go, here? And then I always do the same thing when that happens. Why, is there something wrong with it here? Then it really needs blessed. Okay? Okay. Step out of your comfort zone. Sometimes that's a little bit hard. God has worked through you, and sometimes God's hands are what's the end of your arm. That's where they are, right? Now, sometimes we want to be like the disciples this morning. James and John are saying, I want to get what I deserve. Here, be very careful. If you want to get what you deserve, sometime you might. Okay? That's not good. Wages of sin and all that kind of stuff. All right? Not a good thing. All right? But they were saying, I want to sit at your right and left hand. I want to get what I deserve. I did a little second look at that word, deserve, D-E-S-E-R-V-E. Looks a lot like deserve. And I thought, ooh, you know what? When I'm talking about what I deserve, then I am saying I'm going to deserve you. I'm going to demote you. I'm going to possibly demean you. I'm probably going to demand things of you, and I'm going to desist doing things for you. I could do more D stuff, but, we got it down. All right? And I'm not sure if that's exactly what Christ wants us to do. And I'm wondering, what do you think Christ's answer was to those disciples that day? What did he say? Did he say, oh, you're like such low-life scum? Did he say that? No. He didn't even say that, and the Bible cleaned it up. He didn't say that. What he said was something a little bit more along the lines of, you know what? I want you to be first. Yes. I want you to be first. I want you to be great. You know what I want you to be first and great at? I want you to be first in generosity. I want you to be first in living love. I want you to be the greatest in being like God. I want you to be the greatest disciples the world has ever known. Now, he didn't put them down. He kind of modeled that for me. Right about the time they're all going, I want to be the greatest. Who does that remind you of? I'm the greatest. Does that remind you of anybody? All you old guys out there like me? Muhammad Ali. Honey, I remember when he was Cassius Clay. He was still great. He was an Olympian. He was very talented, right? He was a tremendous athlete. And he used to tell everybody, I'm the greatest, right? I never promoted him personally because I figured he did enough promoting for anybody. He liked himself well enough for both of us. Right? You know who I think is the greatest? I think Mother Teresa is the greatest. She didn't do a lot of promoting herself. I think George Washington was the greatest. I heard a great story about George Washington. One day he stepped out of his tent and he was kind of bundled up there and went out there. And there were these guys trying to build something or other, some kind of a rampart or something out of logs. And they were trying, and this corporal was saying, do that, push it up higher, do it again, you're not trying hard enough, and all that stuff that corporals do. And they were having a terrible time. They just couldn't get that last log up there. And so finally Washington goes over and he pushes with all his might, and together they're able to get it up there, right? And then he goes over to the corporal and he said, so why didn't you help? The corporal said, see, I'm a corporal. And Washington said something to the effect of, right, I'm the commander-in-chief. And from now on, when there's a job that needs done around here, why don't you have them call me? That's a leader. That is a servant leader. That is someone who's the greatest. And of course, who's the greatest of all? Jesus Christ. The one that we want to be like. He's the one that says, I want you to be great. He says, actually, I wonder what he will say. What do you want Christ to say about you? When you go and meet your Maker, okay, and that day will come, all right? What exactly do you want him to say about you? What do you want when that day comes and we have your funeral here? I'm going to be talking. What do you want me to say? Be careful. I say a lot of things. What do you want me to say, and be honest? What do you want people to say about you? What will be said about this church? If Hayesville United Methodist Church no longer existed, would anyone notice? What would be missed? Who would miss us and why? And if you were no longer here, who would miss you and why? be the greatest at being like Jesus. We want to be the greatest genuine imitators there ever was. You know, like the genuine imitation something or other, right? That's what we want to be. We want to be imitators of Christ. So that when we die, people will say things about us. You know what I want someone to say? I want someone to say, that's someone that sought justice, that loved mercy, and that walked humbly with God. I want them to say that she did her best at trying to live justice. I want them to say she tried to do what was right. I want them to say that she was there for people that needed a hand. I wanted them to say that she didn't put them down. I'm going to need to work if I'm going to have them say that, by the way. There's some ways I need to clean up my act, but I can start today. I want them to say she was patient. What do you want people to say about you? What do you want them to say about this church? Because I think that we can be the people that our dogs think we are. I really do. I think that we can start living up to the example of Christ. I have no idea where I am in here. I'm just sort of been talking. I go off and let my mouth run sometime. Oh, yeah. I want to be the hands of God. I want to say that in this church, people needed a hug. This was where they found it. I want people to be able to come here and say that this is a place that welcomes the stranger, that this is a place where God's children who are struggling are provided for, that this is a place where we make things happen instead of just whining about the way things are. I hate the world. Oh, me too. Do something, right? I want this to be the kind of a place that we take care of all of these things that God gave us, that we stretch our minds, that we use our minds, we use our insight, we use our intuition, we use everything about us to tune our senses to be the folks that God would have us be. I want it to be said that we dreamed the dreams that we needed to dream, and then we stretched out to reach those dreams and make them a reality. I want it to be said that we made a difference because we were here, that people's lives are different because of here, that we were a church that collectively and individually said, here I am, Lord, use me. Please, pick me, pick me, pick me. You got sheets earlier. A lot of people can look at you and tell what your gifts are. You're the only one that knows what your call is. And you're the only one that knows whether or not you're going to be looking at that and what you're going to be doing after you look at that and fill that out. I would invite you to completely fill this out. And I want you to give this as the gift of love it is. You know what I want to be like? I want to be like Whoopi Goldberg in the movie Ghost. Okay? I want to be, you know, at the end of the movie, when Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore are there, and he, you know, he's just a ghost and everything, and he says, oh, if I could just touch you one more time, just once. Oh, I love that too, she said. And Whoopi Goldberg goes, oh, you can use me, use my body. And she allowed them to touch each other one last time through her. That's what God wants of us. To say, can I use you to touch the people that I love just once? Can I use you to do that? Because if we can do that, then we will be living lives that say to everybody we meet, as you wish. And they will know that we are saying, I love you. And I love the Lord who loves us all. And those people who follow us will look at us. You know what they will say? Well done, good and faithful servant. Ardith, thank you. As you play some reflective music, I would invite you to go to prayer. And I'd like you to fill this out and prayerfully look at where are your gifts, where are your passions, and most of all, where is your forward.